2. Check. 1, 2. So I did, this is my first season doing soccer. I worked 7 seasons in the BC Hockey League. So probably 25 teenagers around. Junior, yeah, so not Clippers, maybe we play Clippers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I went. And I worked with the organization too.
Good. That's awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kikinishtuk Stadium here in Nanaimo. A bit of a different start to today's planned League One game between Harbourside and Altitude FC. Earlier this week, Wednesday night, in fact, Harbourside's Reed Campbell, who served as team administrator as well as member services coordinator with Nanaimo United, was involved in a motor vehicle incident along the Nanaimo Parkway. A vehicle traveling in the northbound lanes, traveling south rather, in the northbound lanes, hit Reed's vehicle, sending both the driver, who is alleged to be under the influence, and Reed to hospital. Reed later succumbed to his injuries on Thursday evening and leaves a massive, massive gap in not only Harbourside, Nanaimo United, but the surrounding community as well. Teams are lined up at center prior to the start of the men's game here this afternoon in order to take a pause and a timeout to reflect Reed, and we'll go down to pitch level now with our public address announcer, Matt Carter.
Altitude FC and Harbourside FC. As many of you know, prior to today's game, we do have a special ceremony right now about to happen. And for this ceremony prior to today's game, we also like to offer our gratitude to Altitude FC for supporting us in this. Very happy to welcome out both teams, men's and women's here from both, to center pitch for this recognition ceremony.
So both the men's and women's teams from both Harbourside and Altitude standing at center. You can see players linked arm in arm as well, honoring the life of Reed Davidson, killed in a car accident earlier this week at the age of 24. served as a Harbourside team administrator, as well as member services coordinator with Nanaimo United here in the Harbour City. His impact on the players and the staff with Harbourside, immeasurable. Friends with many, known to all, and leaves behind a, as we said earlier, a massive loss for this community.
As part of our gratitude to Altitude FC, we'd like to call up their captains, Lucas Booth and Nathan Walters, presenting scarf to Harbourside FC. Thank you, Heischka, Altitude FC. It is with heavy hearts that we announce the very unexpected passing of Reed Enzo Ross Davidson on Thursday, July 20th. Reed was a son, grandson, brother, beloved partner, best friend, captain, teammate, co-worker, and most importantly, an incredible human being. Reed played a huge role in both Harbourside and the Nanaimo United clubs. His title was club admin at Nanaimo United for almost 3 years, but Reed went above and beyond his official role. He frequently acted as a cook, bottle washer, and DJ for the clubhouse, among many other duties that he did out of pure love for the club. Along with his many roles, Reed was a key figure in helping Harbourside FC become the successful franchise that it is today. Reed's absence will be felt by many for a very long time. Whether you knew Reed from his involvement in the soccer community or just had the pleasure of crossing paths with him in day-to-day life, his warmth and kind nature was obvious and always genuine. We ask that you please keep the Davidson and Nichols families in your thoughts. They will need your love and support more than ever over the coming months. This loss is a terrible and senseless one, but we know that Reed would want the games scheduled today to go on, even if he can't be here. So both games played today will be dedicated to Reed and the countless amazing memories he has left us with. At this time, we ask all of you here today to observe a moment of silence. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you, Reed, for all the love and all you've given to your family, friends, and the soccer community. We're going to have the teams 5 minutes here just to get set up and get ready for this afternoon's games. So on behalf of Harbourside FC, thank you everyone for joining us for League One Soccer and for sharing your memories in celebration of Reed Davidson.
So the teams are going to take a few minutes to regather, regroup, and get set for today's kickoff. We'll step away as well. We'll come back with a brief pregame and get set for kickoff between Harbourside FC and Altitude FC here at Kakinishtuk in Nanaimo. emotionally charged day here in Nanaimo. Two teams look for that final win of the season to close out a rough campaign on a positive note. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome here to Kinnistook Stadium in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island. Today's League One BC action pitting Harbourside FC hosting Altitude FC. My name is Alex Rosley, joined here this afternoon by a new voice on our broadcast, Clay Thexton. Clay, thanks so much for filling in, providing a little bit of analysis, catching my mistakes, and all around enjoying what should be a pretty action-packed afternoon here today.
Well, thank you very much for having me this afternoon today, Alex. Looking forward to seeing the match this afternoon. And like you said, it will be an energy in the air that we have not seen anywhere. And it's because of all the things that we've had happen this week with these teams leading up to this point.
So if you are just joining us, about 5 minutes ago, there was a brief on-field ceremony to recognize Reed Davidson, who was killed in a car accident earlier this week. Was struck by a driver traveling the wrong way on a highway through Nanaimo. Allegations that the driver was impaired in some manner. Davidson, the accident on Wednesday night, Davidson succumbing of his injuries on Thursday in hospital and leaving behind an immense hole. And you saw the reaction from the players after both teams, and credit Altitude to participate in this as well. Both teams at center, both teams hugging and a lot of tears after that as well. So there will be some emotion to work through, particularly in the first 5-10 minutes. I think though, and as cold as it could sound, the quicker you're able to kind of zero into that mindset that players would typically approach a game, and the all business type mindset, the more successful I think Harbourside will be able to be to try and get to their game plan at the earliest possible opportunity, Clay.
That'll be a challenge actually for Kevin Lindo to control everybody on the sidelines there. Kevin's got his work cut out for him today to manage that team also at another level that he's not used to. So managing that emotional level of the team has to be quick, and he has to keep his team focused for today's game.
So teams are just getting set to do the line, the walkout at the moment. A couple of teams in their blue jerseys, but will be relatively easy to tell them apart. Let's work through our pregame at the moment, and we'll look first at the weather. Mostly cloudy skies, really shouldn't be a factor here this afternoon. Around 24 degrees. There is a light breeze working its way from our left to right across your screen. So all in all, just a beautiful afternoon. It shouldn't be too fatiguing for either side. Certainly not like last week when it was very, very hot, particularly for the men's game last weekend. So it shouldn't be all that taxing on the players from a conditions perspective. For Harbourside, their starting lineup, they've made a couple of changes. Of course, Jordan McKinty, who Clay was wearing your headset this time last week, dresses on a right wing back role. He'll join Johnny McKenzie, who subbed in for last week's game as well. Callum McGogg, the captain Matt Marasa, and number 14 Fergus Hall to anchor that five-man defensive core, I should say. Tyson Chitani and Reese Farragher, who slots up into a central midfield role, will patrol through the center of the pitch, and then Suku Bahari and Ambrose Tinmouth in an attacking midfield role, and then Mowbray Bajien, who started in a left wing back role last week, moved into the midfield, will now head the attack here this afternoon. We'll get to the opposition, Altitude FC, in just a couple of seconds as we pause for the national anthem. are set to go here at Kenishtuk. Just quickly back to the Harbourside lineup. The versatility of a guy like Mowbray Bejen to be able to play essentially anywhere up and down the pitch has been very, very valuable this year. Ambrose Tinmouth coming off an absolute brace last weekend as Harbourside unfortunately fell 3-2 to TSS in their lone game last weekend. Led that one by a score of 2-1 and then a pair of goals in the 57th and 61st minute respectively, seeing TSS claim a 3-2 victory. And then speaking of versatility, Reese Ferriger, a player who's typically played in that central back three, coming in to play in a central midfield role. The 5 available on the bench, plus goalkeeper Tyler Griffith, Maxwell Dadzi, Nathan Chow, Juan Rubiano, Vasilis Bagiopoulos, who also scored last weekend, and Taylor Arbor are your 6 on the bench. For altitude, Evan Ince will be between, or in net, I should say, Wiz Shalufa and Costa Adzik, along there with Marshall, Michelibs Desikera, Aheo, Fremont, Herbert, Walters Booth, and Ilios, the 11 to start, and then a full subs bench for altitude to be able to choose from. Coin toss has been made, and as we said, Clay, the mentality for Harbourside has to be all business. Obviously, these games are for Reed. Nobody's suggesting otherwise, but the quicker you zero in on the 90 minutes ahead, I certainly think that the better the outcome for Harbourside this afternoon.
Most definitely. One of the biggest things that Harbourside can do is channel all that energy and come out quick. If they can come out quickly and put the ball in the back of the net, we're going to see the team be able to settle down and those emotions will come back under control. And remember, these are all players that have been playing a very long time. So they'll lock into that mindset of, hey, this is game day.
It's a muscle memory thing.
So hopefully they can come out, strike fast, and get the first point on the board, and then, settle into their game, and then really, work the ball around and control the game today.
So Harbourside will move from our left to right, and they'll have the first half kickoff as well in their two-tone blue home jerseys with the white trim. Altitude in their sky blue jerseys, also with the white trim, will move from our right to left. And it'll be Mowbray Bejen to take the kickoff. And getting set to go, certainly one thing I really like to look from a Harbourside perspective is the wingbacks. We talked about that with Jordan McKinty last week, as he was able to provide a really unique look at just how active those two players on the left and right wingback roles are. And we are underway here in Nanaimo, and as I said, Harbourside from the left to right, I should say, in this first half, wearing their two-tone blue home jerseys with the white trim. And already altitude in, trying to force a through ball, but out to grab it is Marko Elic, making his first start here at home in a while, and a good early chance trying to deliver that through to Oliver Herbert. We'll drop over that left side, Shatani. McKenzie goes back to Magog, now to Marasa right side. Has McKinty up and takes control of that now. Looking for an option up the wing, not too much available. Back to Marasa, the elder statesman on this Harbourside team, but using that experience. And talking to Jordan McKinty last week, certainly a valuable addition to Harbourside here. This Farrago back to Marasa, hooks it right over to Callum Magog. Up the left wing, that's Johnny McKenzie. Advances it ahead, Suka Bahari, just a little drag and run down that left flank to the box, looking to cross. He's tracked down quickly, though, by Adzic. And still a battle there. It'll be a free kick to altitude on the clearance, as it's sent all the way back to just beside the penalty area. And a good initial first run, and again, it's those wingbacks activating, and it's a good chance down that left side.
Yeah, you don't want to let Suka get away from you. In the box, he's always been dangerous, and this early in the game, letting him that close, he's already showing the mindset that he needs today. And
I certainly think there was elements of frustration in his game last week. Wasn't able to kind of generate that space that he typically wants. It'd be interesting to see how he goes about his business here today. Walters back to the goalkeeper Evan Ince. Ince will have it and give it to Walters along this near side. Still early into the third minute of this one. 0-0 here at Kikinishtuk in Nanaimo. Pleasure to have you on board here for a Saturday afternoon of football in the Harbour City. Here's Buhari for Harbourside. Advances to the center for Tinmouth. He'll turn down and chance to move ahead and look to battle his way through some traffic. Tinmouth gives over to that left side. That's McKenzie. Trying to dance his way in. McKenzie turns back. Little give back to Chitani. Out of Farragher. Harbourside conceding a little bit of territory here. Chitani. Again to Farragher. Pressured. Marasa has it along this near side. Good pressure early. There's Hansen trying to force an error. Harbourside still able to maintain possession. Chitani on that left side. McKenzie, he'll go for a run with it. Has Tinmouth streaking with him. Is along the touchline. It's cleared by Altitude. Back out. Little touch give and go there. Suka Bahari moving towards the ball instead of waiting for it to come to him. Offloads to Marasa. Now McKinty doesn't have a whole ton of options at the touchline. Turns back. I like the pace early to this one. There's a lot of ball movement, a lot of guys running. A lot of moving pieces early. Just the give back from Marasa goes out and a throw in for Altitude.
Altitude's looking to use the high press as quick as they can today. You've shown some speed up front already, and it looks to be impressive.
Ince back in his own area. Altitude in no rush offensively to move the ball up, but as Clay said, using that pressure, using that high press to try and force that mistake. And when we saw it off the kickoff, was able to get possession very quickly, and then a through ball very nearly creating the game's first real scoring opportunity.
And you notice there was no pressure on the keeper or the players down here by Harbourside. They were not using the high press, and so they're looking to mainly control the midfield today and build solid plays out of the midfield.
Chitani battled and did well to win that one. Goes back to Hall, and now near side Marasa, back to Illich. Haven't seen a whole ton of Marco Illich here in Nanaimo. He's played several games this season, but it has been more typically Cal Weir here in Nanaimo. So excited to see him. Of what we've seen of him, an incredibly agile goaltender, has made some stunning saves throughout the season. So excited to see him here through 90 minutes this afternoon.
I've been fortunate enough to work with Marco this year, and I can attest that he has more energy than you can handle. He's a fantastic player. He is on the ball. He is constantly, always watching. Like his field vision is top notch. I think he is a keeper to watch in the next season or two. I think he's certainly an up and coming keeper that will make a big difference for this team.
I think I mean, you might tell me I'm off here. I'll finish that thought in just a second, rather. Heo looks to cross. It goes over everybody. Comes out left side. McKenzie will head it on. Suko Bahari trying to gather. He's being enjoyed by Azic. And ball along that far touchline. It's knocked to the line. Stays in momentarily, and Harbourside will have the throw. At least from this distance, Weir and Illich similar in terms of their their size, similar in terms of their reaction, using that, not necessarily using big body size. Neither of them are sort of 6'3", 6'4", and using their agility to be able to make those saves. Weir, of course, with the futsal background, and Illich, as you said, with that energy.
Yeah, you could see that these players here can make it from top to bottom, left to right very easily because they've got a really agile base.
Here's a chance. We'll finish that in a second. Here's Mowbray Benjen right side. He's got Tinmouth with him. Just chips it into the area, right along the byline, but just couldn't get too much on it. And Ince will collapse on top of that one, but a good rush down this right wing. 7th minute, 0-0. Early in this one. Players still settling in. Thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. Walters will look to break or bring it out. Through the middle, taken there by Booth, the captain, back to Walters. Near side here, Ilosh was a late change, not initially scheduled to be part of the 11, but was added in at the expense of Sarub, who starts on the bench. So those two just switching spots in the 11.
Keeper just outside his box to play this one.
That's maybe an example of the field vision there. I think Illich was out of his box and right on top of it before Hall knew sort of the ball was coming towards him.
Well, that's the advantage of having an active goalkeeper back there. He is your 11th man, right? And he's got to have confidence with his feet to play it out and be able to switch the ball quickly. If he takes too long on the ball, 3 to 4 seconds, that allows other players to move in. So you can certainly see that he's got the capabilities to build the play out of the back by being that active 11th player.
Referee let them go a while, but a battle between McKenzie and an Altitude player results in a free kick. And it'll come here to Harbourside from a long way out. Having that extra presence back there, I mean, it's crucial for communication because, you know, oftentimes balls played through, guys have their back to goal, they're not quite seeing it. And for Illich to be able to deliver that, he is a put in by Suka Bahari, but it's well out of the reach of the streaking Matt Marasa. And now Altitude look to quickly break on the counterattack. Good sliding toe kick there to take it away from Chavula. But Altitude able to take it away. Here's Chavula, pardon me.
He's trying to maintain the onside there. When those guys pick up speed, it is so hard, especially when you're running back as a defender against a fast forward there. You're trying to keep them in check, and that's always a challenge.
Booth looks to play to the middle. It's taken by Marasa, though. The pass up along this right side. Quick challenge as now Mowbray Bejean will get it along the right touchline. Look to dance his way around and inadvertently got in the way of the clearance by Jordan McKinty. We'll just have a brief stop here as the assistant referee has spotted something on the field. Mouth guard or shin pad. That is essential. The right shin pad of Wazeso Chavula.
Those players prefer those smaller, lightweight shin pads.
It almost looks like they don't have anything on. Like I've gone past a couple of the guys in ahead of games, and it's almost like there's nothing there.
It's not bigger than a credit card, I think.
Altitude control off the throw. Aheo just got a little bit too aggressive in his attempts to gather the ball and concedes a free kick, essentially right at half.
I imagine today the referee's going to have an extra hard task, and he's been calling the game right down the middle, which is always what you want to see, obviously. But having the extra emotion from the players in the pushing and the shoving and everything else like that between these two teams today can definitely be a factor that actually has to be mitigated by the ref, and he's done a fantastic job up to now.
Joey Ratcliffe, the referee today. Ben Clark, Hannah Browning, the two running the lines. His Altitude down the right side will look across. Aheo trying to find some options, does top of the 18-yard box, but just couldn't control. Marasa coming through and able to defuse that situation. Put to the left side, Suko Bahari. Advancing, chipping ahead. Bejean will go for a race after it. Matthew Marshall back to it for Altitude, but Bejean did well to take that ball. He's all alone, though, looking for some support, and a throw-in conceded by Harbourside. Just didn't have a whole ton of options to pass to, did Mowbray Bejean.
No, I think they caught him off, the team offside by moving the ball that quickly, and the midfielders were just not ready to move.
Long throw, kicked straight back by Chitani to the head of Bejean, still aerial. Someone looking to bring it to ground. Bejean again, the header, still hasn't hit the deck. It'll go over to the right side and eventually headed out of play. That was a good 10-second stretch there without the ball touching the pitch. And it will be a long throw. Matt Marasa will come over to take it. About 20 yards above, or 20 yards up the touchline, I should say, from the corner. So definitely an opportunity here to get it into the penalty box, and Marasa does. Tinmouth, the target. Chance here, and it's a drive just over the goal as Reese Ferriger tried to latch onto a left boot and sends it high and just wide.
On that last play there, Altitude brought most of their players back. They left one player near center, but they knew they had to defend the box very heavily from the attacking team.
Altitude bringing in a breakout. And again, not in all that much of a rush to move the ball sort of north-south up the pitch.
See, that's where you want to put the pressure on the keeper. When he receives that soft ball and you can maybe hurry him up and he might have to make a harder pass or catch him off balance, those are the things that you want to look for maybe in that high press from those forwards.
And I mean, we've seen Harbourside concede like that. You go all the way back to the first game of the season, I believe. It was just a miscommunication between goalkeeper and defense and pressure put on by that press, and all of a sudden it winds up in the back of the net. Those things can happen. They don't happen very often.
Communication is 80% of this game. 20% is the physical aspect, but if you don't have 80% in your communication game, that's really missing it out. Imagine comparing that to 80% in possession. That would just be phenomenal. So that's a one-sided game. So if you can control the communication aspect in the same manner, then you're going to have everything work out for you, because you're going to be able to understand, you know, where everybody's going to be and what's going on. The keepers are very important in that communication role.
Adzek has the ball, goes back to Booth. Check that Marshall, pardon me. And it's picked off by Harbourside. They'll go for a run. Ambrose Tinmouth streaking his way through the through ball. This will be offside, though, as Mowbray Bergin probably a step, maybe 2 or 3 in behind the defense. You like the idea, the execution just off on this stretch, but Tinmouth using his muscle through traffic, and then Bergin making a run, just the timing a fraction off.
Right, you can see the frustration coming out in Suka there. He's got his hands up and saying, hey, I'm open for the ball there. He was clearly open on the left-hand side to start his run, but they just couldn't see him at that moment.
Throw in right at halfway. Still early, 14th minutes, first half, 0-0. Couple of chances both way, but nothing that you would suggest was a goal-saving stop by either keeper yet. Altitude had one, essentially the first opening seconds off the opening kickoff. Never really found its way through. Illich was able to handle that on a through ball. Hull's chance, or pardon me, Ferriger's chance a few minutes ago was probably the best for Harbourside. Just still a lot of maneuvering, a lot of setting up the chessboard early in this one. Marshall delivers a long ball down the right touchline, intended for Hansen. It's put out of play by McKenzie. Throw in will go to Fremont, although he'll drop and leave it back.
Altitude's shown more aggression on the ball today, and they've moved the ball quicker up the field. They've been able to get into the final third a few times, whereas Harbourside seems to be struggling. They don't have the communication, and they're just not able to get the player in where they want today.
Callum Magog finding himself down low. Ball comes back, and Harbourside will try this near flank. Here's McKinty into the middle. Tanny for Ferriger. Check that, Tinmouth for Ferriger. Now back to Hull, the anchor of this Harbourside defense.
See, that's where you want to start your run right there over on the left-hand side. Suka was looking for the ball, and he could have started that run, but if you don't get the communication from the back line, you're just not going to see those things.
Almost saw it on this right side here with Hull trying to pinpoint to Ambrose Tinmouth. Maybe another 5 yards, he would have been able to latch onto that one, but the angle probably just a degree off. But again, a long ball from half to effectively the 6-yard box, which is where, or in line with the 6-yard box, I should say, which is where Tinmouth was trying to pick that one up. Kind of caught Altitude off guard there for a second.
You can see Altitude quickly as they make the midfield, they're transitioning and they're putting 4 players up front. They're really looking at breaking away and trying to get behind the defense of Harbourside today. And
that's a risk of running those wingbacks as well. I mean, if they're being offensive and aggressive, then, you know, they're potentially caught upfield, and then you're trying to battle that 4-man attack with just 3 in that central defense role on the back. You know, it hasn't burned Harbourside to a point that they've wanted to make a change at all this season, and I think, you know, the benefits, particularly when you've got speed from guys like McKinty and McKenzie along those wings, far outweigh the risks. But it's definitely one to consider, especially if Altitude are throwing a few more towards the ball.
I think Kevin Lindo's done an excellent job this season with this team and their lineup, providing that he really trusts players. I've had the opportunity to work with Kevin for several times and over the years, and he really lets players develop themselves and the play work itself out in the field. He puts a lot of trust and faith in his players, but during practice, I'll tell you, you know, what they go through and the tempo that they put, you know, really is game day plus.
Here's Tinmouth trying to battle his way through. Unleashes. Beheri has a chance. Toes it to goal. Beheri just couldn't direct it as Ince got a piece of it. And a great chance on the through ball from Tinmouth. Unleashes Suka Beheri, but Ince doing just enough.
That's where Suka's looking for the ball, and they spotted him that time and able to free him up to take that run. That was very close inside the box.
got a toe on it. Credit Evidence for coming out and challenging Bahari. Got enough to sort of redirect it just to the wide, just out of sort of the path of the goal, and then cleared out of play.
Well, I think Altitude was definitely feeling the pressure there because they kicked the ball out right away. They just knew that the pressure was there, and they had to break the pressure.
A couple of back-to-back throws here to McKinty along this right side to take it. Best chance of the game, easily, either side, just right there. Suka Bahari on the receiving end of an Ambrose Tinmouth pass. Here's McKinty. Back to Farragher. Halfway to Marasa. Centers to Hall with some time as Harbourside look to switch it up. They go through the middle. Bahari surrounded and coughs it up. Bejen coming in and fouls his man as Booth hits the deck. Good early pace to this one. 19th minute. 0-0. The long clear from Evan Ince, who hasn't played a whole ton for Altitude this season. I believe just his third game so far in the year. Hall will bring the ball up for Harbourside. Plays it to the right side. McKinty has an eternity of time. Now the through ball intended for Bejen. It was there, but so was the boot of Nathan Walters. And a free kick will come here to Altitude. And again, full credit to both Altitude men's and women's teams joining Harbourside in the center circle for the pregame ceremony to Reed Davidson. Just first class from Altitude to be out there for that. I believe I didn't quite get it from the pregame speech from PA announcer Matt Carter, but I believe there's some sort of gift or whatnot presented to the Davidson family, which is fantastic to see as well. So full credit to Altitude for that and partaking in a really difficult time for Harbourside and the Nanaimo soccer family as well. But as has been made clear and as Reed would have wanted, the games go on. Marasa able to tow that one into touch. And an initial signal by the referee. Throw-in will go towards Harbourside. Might have obviously taken a glancing branch off, or going to go for a free kick here. So I'm guessing, did I miss a flag over that far side?
I didn't see
No,
one.
it is going up for a throw, pardon me.
Yeah.
So it must have come off an Altitude player. Initially, Marasa sort of put the ball down for a free kick, but it is a throw. I thought Marasa towed that clean, but regardless, Altitude come back up with it. Here's Ilush.
Wide open in the middle there.
Into Fremont with a hope and a prayer. Didn't even kick the field goal. That was optimistic at best.
Didn't really think there was a lot of pressure on the player there, so he could have moved that ball a little bit more. I think he was just trying to get the momentum down the field. So here's that high press, right? You want to create that opportunity to rush that ball and maybe disrupt the play or not allow a player downfield, and that's what people miss, the downfield play that is disrupted when the ball is taken away so quickly.
Marasa and McKinty just getting their wires crossed a little bit as well. Marasa was looking for an option upfield, but it never really came and then ran into a sky blue brick wall. Regardless, no damage done. Harbourside recontrol. Magog over the wing for McKenzie to the middle as Farragher toes it ahead. Tinmouth at halfway. Tinmouth working his way through traffic, trying to poke it ahead, but as Suka Bahari watched that one go by.
Altitude's done a fantastic job. Their midfielders collapse in to help out the defenders today, and it just presents a whole wall of players to go through. So to get anything through there, you're definitely going to have to break over the wall quickly with some speed.
We've seen that. We've seen with the offensive chances for Harbourside so far. Bahari from Tinmouth, the through ball. Granted, it was offside, but Mowbray Bejen, his chance, that was through the through ball as well. So they're not trying to dance their way through, as you mentioned. It's got to be that pinpoint accurate passing. We'll see if we get much. We haven't had too much in the way of crosses from either side, although a chance coming here. Here's Chalakula, as this will be a free kick and the card. And it'll be Jordan McKinty to receive a caution from the referee, and a free kick will come probably 2 or 3 yards back from the penalty area along this left flank.
Always a dangerous spot here. The keeper's got to make sure that he's setting up the wall where he wants to see that position, and then the other players are obviously picking it up. It's also dangerous up top here to leave 1v1 defending. Sometimes if the ball comes loose, then it's just a 1v1, and if you're defending this kick, you know, you want to be cautious of that.
So it'll be a 2-man wall getting marshaled by goalkeeper Marko Ilic. And everybody else grabs a guy in the penalty area. Delivery high, and coming out to punch it is Ilic, and then a follow-up attempt goes well over. Ilic looked like he collided, brushed past one of the altitude players. I believe that's a Heo down on the deck.
Yeah, a little slow to get up, but he seems to be okay.
Ilic along that left side will take the goal kick. Heo quickly up.
He's motioning for the team to head up the field here. He wants to create something out of the back.
And that's I'm interested to kind of see how Ilic handles that, because it is more common, certainly from what I've seen with Callum Weir here, to play that short goal kick to the defenders and for Harbourside to work it along the ground, whereas Ilic more keen to bomb it long on this occasion and try to find that battle in midfield.
Well, actually, coming out of his end right now, he's got a little bit of favor in the wind. The wind could play a factor, and if he can get that ball up in the air, it might carry that extra distance that he needs. Oh, right to him.
Long shot from Oliver Herbert. There just really hasn't been much inside 18 yards for altitude so far. All of their chances in the neighborhood of goal have been coming from very well north of 20 yards, if not north of 25. Optimistic at best for altitude so far offensively. Here's Tyson Chitani. Looks to deliver to the middle. Gives away a free kick as well. Might be a handball, as play will go back for altitude to have the unobstructed kick just inside center. Lucas Booth to come in and take it. Will advance it ahead, gives it back to Booth. Has some support along that right side. Eventually gets there on the pass from Fremont. Fremont goes back into his own half.
Lots of confidence to play back to the keeper there. But if Harbourside can keep up the pressure, they're going to be able to take away those back players. That'll force the goaltender to put something up the middle, and that could create a transition point where you could capitalize.
Long feed down the right wing off the back of a altitude player as Harbourside quickly took the throw. The referee did signal, and he's going to blow this dead here. The referee did signal it was an altitude throw, but I'm fairly certain, as are the players along that far side, that it came directly off an altitude player, so the referee's going to talk to his assistant along that far side. It should be a Harbourside throw, because I believe it was some friendly fire along that touchline, and they've gotten it right.
There.
Altitude's going to actually take it, so they're going to stick with it but just return the throw back to that same spot. So Altitude perhaps catching a little bit of a break. And the visitors will bring that ball down the right side. A Hale, and it's put out of play, and all of that discussion amounts to absolutely nothing.
You almost wonder if that was intentional.
Let's just get it right eventually. It doesn't matter how we do it, as long as we get there one way or another. Here's McKinty for Tinmouth. Marasa pressured, but not really. Plays it up the right side.
Oh.
McKinty, good little advancing header, but it was pinballed straight back. Tinmouth, Marasa, pressure, did well, got around 2, and then turns down chance for a third. Crosses over to McGough. McKenzie, one-touch pass. Bahari in traffic, chips it back. McKenzie down the left side. Mowbray wants it, calling for it, but it's headed away, and it'll come to the right side. Tinmouth.
Harbourside can make something out of this. They're deep in their zone. They've got players setting up at the 18.
Back to McKinty.
And they bring it too far back.
Turn
half.
back. Didn't like what Tinmouth saw, so returns it back to the defenders. Tanny to McKenzie. Good little bump up of the pace there for a few seconds. Couple of passages of play. Here's Marasa. McKinty. Check that Timoth, pardon me. Pass through the legs, nutmegs Ilosh on this near side. Now Timoth to Beharry. Just couldn't quite reel that pass in. It was there, just a little bit too much on it. And cleared away eventually by Altitude. Still in their own half, and a free kick will come here to Marasa at Harbourside as the two number 9s meet Kyle Hansen, just a little bit too handsy on Marasa.
Oh. Quick to try to stop that ball, too.
Marasa didn't really have a whole ton of space there as Hansen was quickly tracking him down as he was taking the free kick. Regardless, Harbourside still control. Here's Suka Beharry from 25. Looks to dance around, spins, delivers. Bejen over the far side, but he's caught from an offside position. Came in from a spot behind the defense. And it'll be an offside call about 20 yards from goal.
Well, that's a bit of a different look coming out from the outside. They've been trying to feed the ball relatively close to the 18 and feed a player through, but it looks like Harbourside wants to change their tactics and maybe start swinging the ball in.
Altitude will bring it up through the middle. Stopping on a dime and turning back, that's Oliver Herbert. At midfield, Lucas Booth. Coming back to this near side, Nathan Walters. Little touch pass and ahead. Fremont, the through ball, looking to unleash Ilyos on this near side. Couldn't quite get there. Ilyos again. Gives over the far side for Chavula. Now Ilyos to the edge of the box. Wow. Chance, long way out, but it's diffused quickly as Herbert's looked to try and get a shot away, but was mobbed by dark blue jerseys. Here's Suka Beharry on the counter attack. Bejan left side, chipping it ahead, had to stutter step. Can he get a shot away? Looks to cross, intended for Beharry, but it was cut off and cleared by Kostaradzik and put out of play. It was the little stutter step to receive that one from Mowbray. Bejan just was able to have the defender reel him back in. Good second effort, though, to try and get it to Beharry. But a crucial clearance by Kostaradzik. Here's McKinty down this right side. A little bit more pressure, but loses his footing. Trying to turn on a dime on that one. McKinty will look to regather, but a foul given up by Timoth and a free kick. 30th minute in this one, still 0-0. Harbourside, Altitude here at Kikinishtuk in Nanaimo. Pleasure to have you on board here on a Saturday afternoon.
Nice to see the weather today has been consistent. It's not overly hot like we had last week. So this here will be probably a better game to play, and for energy and time management and everything else like that, the players will appreciate the cooler temperature.
I mean, I think at this stoppage last week, we would have had a drinks break. So the fact that the players are going on, I think, is indicative of the conditions and the way that this game is being played at a pretty good pace. Here's Oliver Herbert just stopping up, looking for options, delivers to the middle. That's for Lucas Booth. Put over to the far side. Booth gets it back in the middle. From a long way out, looks to pass it ahead. Magog back to Illich, and he will clear.
Got to watch those Altitude players. You can see the forwards are trying to press in behind, and they're always trying to find the blind side. They're always trying to find the blind side of the defenders there and make their move on the inside.
Suka Beharry through some traffic, trying to advance his way. Chips to the middle. Farriger. Back to Magog. Now to Illich. And he'll just chip it into touch right into the Harbourside bench for a throwing opportunity for Altitude, about 25 yards from goal. Herbert pressured immediately there by Farriger. Check that, Chitani. Kicks it back to Walker. Now up and ahead along this near side, gathered by Hansen. Chip down the far side, there's Chavula. And he is tackled and ball into, put out of bounds, I should say, for a corner kick. Ambrose Timoth coming back to play a more defensive role. A lot of Canuck, a lot of Seattle Seahawk, a lot of Toronto Blue Jays jerseys in the crowd today. Of course, all in support of Reed Davidson, who the Harbourside teams are playing for today. Tragically killed following a motor vehicle incident on the highway earlier this week as Suka Bahari connected and might have actually bumped heads.
Referee was indicating ahead there, and the training staff is quickly onto the field.
Players will take this opportunity for a quick drink.
It's also unfortunate when a player goes down here. This is one of those times when the coach can get that extra little information in. He can make those quick adjustments. You can see both coaches are talking quickly to their teams and trying to make those small adjustments where they see that the team needs to pick up the ball.
Bahari back to his feet, looks okay, which is good to see. Such a crucial piece of the Harbourside offense. Scored the first goal in men's team history all the way here at the end of April.
I was actually here for that. I saw it.
That was a nice goal. Well, it was from the penalty spot, but clinical, and
Yeah.
can't really argue with that. We've seen penalties not necessarily go the way that we want them. Case in point, Canada's women's team a couple of nights ago with Christine Sinclair, but
Unfortunately.
you win some, you lose some, and Suka Bahari was able to win one that weekend.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of pressure put on a player when they've got to be set up in that moment, you know, the first goal to be scored. Obviously a lot of pressure, so, you know, it just shows the composure and the experience of the individual that is taking the shot there. You know, it's always a pressure situation. Doesn't matter what level you're playing at. It's always intense.
I mean, I've skied penalties in practice. I can't imagine doing it in a game in front of, what was it, like 1,200 people that weekend?
Yes, it was a record-setting, just over 1,200 that weekend, and it was impressive. I remember being here, and it was a fantastic atmosphere.
Marasa along this right side will advance it up. Little give and go there with McKenty. He has it right wing at midfield. Goes back to Hall. Receiving the orders from Marasa. Finds McGoggle on that left flank. Up through the middle. Here's Suka Bahari. Turns. Puts on the Jets as well. Chips it up the left side. McKenzie trying to find a lane. Gets across. Delivers to the middle. Just probably a step ahead of Mowbray Bejean, who gives the thumbs up. It was the right idea. And out to grab his evidence. And again, Harbourside just question the altitude defense.
Altitude had a solid line back there, but again, with the speed that Harbourside can produce and the opportunity, you know, it's going to strike. And I think that they're very close. I'd say they're on the doorstep.
Matthew Marshall. Back to his keeper, Eminence. Booth. Feed out the right side. Good pressure by McKenzie, not letting Adzik have too much real estate. Put out off the leg of McKenzie and out of play for a throw. Jump ball at midfield, looking to bring that down. McGogg wearing the 13 today. Little chip in ahead. Here's Bahari again looking for a run. Finds Bejean. He's got support. Tinmouth right side. Keeps. Fires. Scores! Ambrose Tinmouth from right on the edge of the 18-yard box. Settles and fires upstairs, and Harbourside a 1-0 lead.
That'll take a lot of pressure off the Harbourside team, the coaching staff, and everything else like that. But the thing that you got to remember is you cannot let up. Altitude is definitely on the attack today as well, and they'll be looking to get that one back as quick as possible. It's finally a pressure reliever for the team, but we can see that Altitude, they'll want to get that one back quickly. So in this first half, I can expect to see the Altitude even press harder and higher.
36th minute goal for Ambrose Tinmouth. He is not only second of the season, but also second in as many games. And not too dissimilar from his one last weekend as well. That one coming from sort of 25, closer to maybe 30 yards out. This one right on the edge of the box, but a similar brace upstairs. And it's 1-0. And Harbourside able to play with the lead for the first time here this afternoon, and a team which has struggled a little bit for offense at points in this season. That is so valuable to have your opposition chase you, particularly early in this game. 36 minutes and change gone. And again, a lot of the opportunities for Altitude have come from distance. I can't remember a save that Illich has had to make as a result of a shot inside the box.
I think 25 yards is probably as close as they've gotten, but even then they seem to be high with the ball today. So they're going to have to switch up their tactics. Maybe they've been trying to give and go and trying to switch it to the outside, but even then, Harbourside's done a fantastic job of defending that in the box.
Let's put out a play for a throw-in.
You can see the altitude keeper. He's really starting to communicate. He's trying to create those opportunities by informing his players where to be and who to pick up and what side to be on. Keepers see the game from a completely different perspective, and it is so valuable for the teammates to key into what they're saying. Sometimes they can give you that slight advantage that you need.
Battle along that far side, Chitani. He's being challenged there by Hansen. It's still battling. Chitani trying to spin. It'll be a free kick going the way of Harbourside for the challenge along that far side from Hansen.
Harbourside starting to spread out more, and you can see that they're not being picked up. Altitude has left a couple of their players unchecked, so we'll just see if Harbourside can use those.
Challenged by Illich, and again that press to the keeper. It's probably as close as Altitude have gotten. And Harbourside just getting pinned in here. Magog will fire it to midfield. Bejen right at center, and he'll draw a free kick as well. On the battle is not liking that one, Costa Adzik. And it throws his hands up in frustration. Harbourside get away with one a little bit there, and a little bit of pressure from Altitude handled by the home team.
Altitude is certainly trying to press further when forced back into the Harbourside keeper there. They had two men rushing in, so you can see that they're hungry to regain that lead quickly by keeping up the pressure.
McKinty back to Marasa. Little give back there is Reese Farriger, typically part of this back three with Hall and Marasa, now moving up into midfield this afternoon. Harbourside a little bit short on numbers, just the 6 substitutes instead of 7. Magog has it along the left sideline. Chitani.
Long ball out to the right side.
Here's McKinty, gets half a step, maybe wasn't expecting it. As it kind of rolled off his head, Chavula was there, just didn't make a play on it, and it kind of hit McKinty's head and advanced on through. Just couldn't really take that much advantage of it. A little bit of a double bluff maybe from Chavula, but regardless, it's put out of play for a throw, and Harbourside still control.
Here's that pressure.
His Hall makes no mistake to Illich. Now to Callum Magog. Left side McKenzie just overplayed the ball slightly, has to hustle back, gets it to Hall. A little bit of danger here, and McKenzie will clean his own mess and put it into touch.
Altitude wasting no time in pressing down the field and bringing their team up.
Ball played in over that right side, and it'll go out for a goal kick. Pretty overcast afternoon here in Nanaimo. We see some blue sky off to the south, but not a whole lot above us. About 24, 25 degrees. Major day in Nanaimo, of course, with the World Championship bathtub race happening a little bit earlier today at Maffeo Sutton Park, and then the waters off eastern Vancouver Island. A new world record time set today as well, interestingly enough. Down the left side, here's a chance for Chavula. Looks to cross it to the middle. It goes past a couple, but again, no light blue jerseys latching onto it, and it's eventually put out for a throw, about 14 yards from the corner.
Scored by number 22, Ambrose Tinmouth.
So Tinmouth getting credit on it. His second of the season, and as we said, in as many games. Scored last weekend as well. Here's a chance headed towards the goal, and that is clear and above the best chance Altitude has had all game. A pretty innocent little chip in towards the middle, and then from about 10 yards out, sending the header wide, Kyle Hansen.
Here's that high pressure again. Altitude is not letting up on that pressure.
Forced a turnover there. Here's a chance back for Lucas Booth, working his way through the middle. Looking to try and give a chance to Oliver Herbert. In on
Big
goal,
block.
but was offside. And Illich makes no mistake getting in the way of the shot. But linesman's flag up on that far side.
Probably the second time today he's been really challenged. The first one came when he had to dive through that crowd there and punch the ball out earlier. That was always a challenge for a keeper to get through there.
Is that a set move from Marko Ilic, the fake out spinorama?
I don't know. We'll add that one to his
I
repertoire.
haven't seen that one before. I'll have to see if that comes up in practice again or throughout today. We'll give him points for flair. Just kind of stepped up to the ball as if he was going to take the free kick and did a little pirouette. His booth through middle, ran into traffic. It was all Harbourside, but a free kick quickly given.
We'll see if that little move catches on. Maybe that's his new signature move.
The Marko spinorama.
Yeah.
Here's a hail. Chips to the middle. Ilic out for it.
Dangerous.
Collided. Trying to clear. It falls nicely, and he's able to clear it to midfield. And the whistle will go. There's an altitude player down. Ilic, and I believe that's Hansen, collided in pursuit of the ball. And I think Ilic is saying maybe Hansen sort of ran into Ilic's arms as Ilic is going to grab it.
He had to get some, he had to use his abilities and his agilities to get that first save. That first one was challenging. Second one, he came out of the box, challenged the player, and still was able to poke the ball away. So a second effort from a keeper is always, something that you can never plan for, but always hope for.
What I loved about that play, and great to see Hansen up as well, what I loved about that play, obviously the initial chance came probably a yard or two inside the box, right? So Ilic out, tries to glove it, tries to punch it, tries to dispatch it in any way he can, gets something on it, not a whole ton, and it falls just on the outside of the 18-yard box. So not only is he dealing with the situation of trying to clear the ball, he's got the situational presence to not jump on it with the gloves, which I imagine instinctive at some points. So he's not only dealing with the situation, he's aware geographically where on the field he is.
Right, so that's that field vision, and that's that ability we were talking about earlier that Marko possesses, much like most keepers, is that ability for that quick decision making and realizing there's the 18, knowing that if he touches it over there, he's going to be called for that. So automatically dropping from goaltender to defender very quickly and poking that ball out there requires very good foot skills, but also a brave goaltender to make that move.
So free kick, or I guess the ball drop back to altitude in their own half. They'll look to deliver it all on that right side. Adzek will just let that one go into touch. Herbert, little chip ahead there. That's for Hale. Chitani. Magog. To Ilic. Right side, Marasa. Used all the width of the field, got it to McKinty.
As indicated, a minimum of 2 minutes will be added on.
And we are into stoppage time in this first half. The last 10 minutes have flown by since that goal. It kind of caught me off guard. 2 minutes of stoppage time coming here from the fourth official, or from the referee, via the fourth official, I should say.
Certainly the last 10 to 15 minutes have picked up. The pace for both teams have picked up. The ball is moving more. We've had more shots on nets, and we've seen a lot more activity on the field.
Magog. To Ferriger. Check that, pardon me, Hall. Up to Ferriger now. And now back to Ilic in his own area. Feed to the right side to Marasa. I've liked the continued push from Harbourside after the goal.
Ooh, transition.
One certainly isn't enough, as altitude looking, as Clay said, to transition quickly, but Harbourside able to clear. Herbert on the receiving end of a long pass from midfield, but ultimately nullified. Ball put out for a throw.
This is where you can't sit back. You've got to keep the pressure up into this last part of the first half. You've got to keep the pressure up. Both sides are trying to make sure that one scores and one doesn't, and it's one of those situations that you do not want to sit back on.
Ilos. Feed out along this near side, Chavula. Looking to dance his way into the edge of the area. Chavula falls, rolls over the ball, and a free kick will come here right on the edge of the 18-yard box. And our last potential kick of the ball in this first half will be 19 yards from goal.
Again, this is crucial timing right now. Going into the half, up a goal or down a goal or tied, that really impacts the team and their mentality and how they come out and play the second half here. So we'll see how this turns out.
Standing over it is Kyle Hansen. It's a 4-man wall. And Illich positioning it exactly where he wants it. McKinty and Marasa are around it. I believe Tinmouth is in the wall as well, and I can't quite spot. It's Magog. So the 4-man wall. Hansen on it. Ball is exactly 20 yards from goal.
Harbourside's pulled all their players back now.
Why not? Hansen drives and puts it over the crossbar, comfortably over, and that will be halftime.
Fantastic first half. Both teams come out altitude with the high press right away, but it seems to be Harbourside that can thread the needle through, and they've gotten a few opportunities today to be able to do that.
Ambrose Tinmouth's goal in the 36th minute, his second of the season. A brace from 18 yards is the only offense we've got on the scoreboard so far, and it is a 1-0 game through 45 minutes. Obviously, today's games are being played in tribute and in memory of Reed Davidson, who was tragically killed in a motor vehicle incident mid this week along the Nanaimo Parkway, where a vehicle he was traveling in was struck by an allegedly impaired driver. Davidson, injured Wednesday night, died Thursday evening of his injuries and leaving behind a massive, massive gap in not only Harbourside, but in Nanaimo United and the community as a whole. I had a chance to catch up Saturday morning with Jason Coates, the executive director of Harbourside FC, and chat with him just about what the last few days have been. And we started off by talking about whether or not consideration was made and what consideration was made, given the team had these 2 games here this weekend.
Well, we really left it up to the players. We wanted to take their lead, and obviously you can imagine that they're reeling, but I think they then started to just plan slowly and think about what they wanted to do, and they have decided just to honor Reed in a very respectful and thoughtful way. So we'll play as usual in the sense that it'll be a similar schedule, and the men kick off at 1 and the women at 3:30. I think they're planning as teams to have their own forms of honoring Reed, and exactly what form that will take, I'm not sure yet. Again, we're really letting them guide that process, but we will start the game with a moment of silence for Reed, and the players have felt that really that would be probably almost all they could handle. We won't do a moment before the women's game, so it'll be at the very beginning of both games. Obviously, throughout the game, there's a lot of conversations and opportunities for people to share stories about Reed. We will be contributing all of the gate receipts to the Davidson family, just to give them some support. And then as we move forward, we're really going to look as an organization, how do we honor and remember Reed.
Obviously, his role with the organization, his role with United as well, but so many personal relationships in there as well. I know you couldn't possibly speak to every single one, but can you just sort of summarize how well connected Reed was in the local soccer community through VIU, through United, and through Harbourside?
Well, I think it's hard to underscore how connected he was. I mean, he was our member services coordinator at Nanaimo United, and so he virtually dealt with almost everyone, whether it was by email, on the phone, and that was from the U4s all the way up to the adults. He played on the adult team. He played for, I believe, 4 years at VIU. Many of the players, many of the women's team, men's team, were his contemporaries. VIU has been just fantastic throughout this process as well, supporting not only student players, but us as an organization. And so he then dealt with regional clubs, the district, BC Soccer, he was foundational in a lot of our continued growth as a club, Nanaimo United. But then he also was on the ground floor for the start of Harbourside. He was our very first sort of game day manager and did a lot of the things behind the scenes that people just don't see. And as you've probably seen from many of the comments, Reid was one of the nicest guys you would ever meet, and some of his best friends are on the team. And so there's a lot of connections. His girlfriend, his partner, Georgia Nichols, is our team manager and a coach at Nanaimo United, and so the connections are deep and strong.
And in terms of moving forward, I imagine it's a case of just getting past this weekend, paying tribute to Reid and ensuring the players are, in the right spot moving forward in the days and weeks to come. In addition to the family, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing you can do is move forward, and I guess my role is to help support the process, but I can't say enough about what I'm hearing and seeing from players, from the community, just the support for Georgia, for the family, for each other, and yeah.
That is Jason Coates, Executive Director of Harbourside FC, talking here. That was an interview I did with him on Saturday morning, so prior to today's games, on the obvious, immensely tragic loss of Reid Davidson earlier this week. We'll step away for a little bit. We'll come back with second half action here from Kikinishtuk in Nanaimo. It is Harbourside 1, Altitude 0. Ambrose Tinmouth, the lone goal scorer. We'll come back for second half action soon. Welcome back to Kikinishtuk here in Nanaimo. My name is Alex Ronsley. Clay Thexton joining me here on the call as Harbourside a 1-0 lead through 45 minutes worth of play on the back of an absolute brace from 18 yards from Ambrose Tinmouth. And it is a 1-0 Harbourside lead. Of course, an emotionally charged atmosphere with plenty of people in attendance in support of Reed Davidson, who was tragically killed in a car accident earlier this week. Altitude have made one change at the half. Number 9, Kyle Hansen comes off. Number 33, Adrian Poor comes on. And we are underway here in this second half. Harbourside moving from my right to left in this second half, wearing their home blue jerseys with the white trim. Altitude in their light blue jerseys, moving from my left to right. Didn't detect too many changes from Harbourside, or any changes, I should say, from Harbourside at the half. Regardless, we'll kind of try to pick those up as we go on. Here's Mackenzie. Tinmouth. Delivers back McGogg to the middle, Chitani. As Harbourside just look to slow the pace of this one a little bit. McKinty along that right touchline. Chitani being pressured. Farragut there, pardon me, and he'll draw a free kick.
Harbourside looks to control and possession on the ball to keep the ball going in their favor, but possession is going to be key. Altitude is going to come after them, and they're trying to disrupt it, and if they can win possession, they're going to start winning the ball back.
And again, this press from Altitude continues in this second half, just looking to try and make the Harbourside defense work that little bit faster. Illich looks to clear as Harbourside work it down the right sideline.
Altitude is certainly not, oh, there's the offside.
So again, trying to run there. That's Adrian Poor along that, or playing now the lone target man for Altitude in this second half. We saw the two teams sort of take that feeling out process in the first half. We'll see kind of what the talks were from both teams at halftime and how that impacts things as we move on. Here's McGogg to Mackenzie. Back to Callum McGogg, forming that three-man defensive unit on the back for Harbourside here this afternoon. Long throw down this right side. The intended target there was number 17 in sky blue this afternoon, Oliver Herbert, who's probably been the most present of the visiting players. Long feed down this left side, looking to control and settle it down. That's Mowbray Bejen playing that lone striker role here today. He's played just about everywhere on the pitch this season as the number 12. I'm not seeing any changes at half. I didn't see any go up from the fourth official, and nobody's jumping out to me so far in this second half, Clay. So status quo and a slightly shortened bench for Harbourside today.
Well, you got to consider that the weather today could be a factor. We're not seeing the extra sweat and the extra effort put in by the players due to the heat fatigue, so I think that's going to play in both teams' favors, obviously, with their energy levels.
Unlike the sauna we had last weekend. Goalkeeper Evan Ince clears it to midfield.
A little bit of pressure from Harbourside there.
Nowhere near the press, though, that we're seeing from Altitude.
No, but it's just those little bit pressure that you can see there. And it always makes the goaltender think twice. If you can get the goalie thinking, then he's going to maybe make a mistake, and that's what you're looking for. A quick rush on the keeper, and opportunities happen all the time.
Ball down that right side. Out for a throw for Harbourside as that's chipped up and ahead and going for a run for it. I believe that's check that Bejen along that far wall. Putting it up. That's McKinty with the bandaged hands. Chitani to McKinty. Looking to try and give back. McKinty.
There's that high press. He's looking to cause turnover. And again, a relentless press from Altitude today.
Midfield, here's Sukubahari going for a run. McKinty, check that McKenzie looking to latch onto a pass, but Altitude back to it first, and the high and long clear all the way down to Callum Magog in his own half. We'll roll it back to Illich, had a bit of work to do, will make no mistake, and puts it out of play. Not even entertaining the idea was Marco Illich of putting that one in play, get it out, reset, get the throw.
Altitude looking to set up here. They've got good possession in the midfield, and they're looking to build. I bet you they're going to start going to the outside and looking at whipping that ball in. They're starting to stack up the line at the 18, and I think they're going to try and spring somebody free.
Here's a turnover. Sukubahari working his way through midfield, feeds out to the right side. That's Ambrose Tinmouth looking to try and support in the middle. Sukubahari looking for a pass. It gets turned back. It was McKinty, pardon me, as he comes in, slides for a tackle, looks to depossess his man, and the ball able to stay in. Referee let them go too. Here's McKinty down the right side. Centering feet. Chitani. Ball played back to midfield, and here comes Altitude with some speed down that right side. Adrian Poor looking to try and connect in towards the middle. Illich there, but it'll be a free kick as Farragher right on the edge of the box.
This early in the second half here, Harbourside does not want to give away those opportunities.
And I think Farragher has earned himself a yellow card, and we'll call that one for dissent, but the free kick coming 19 yards from goal, just on that left corner of the penalty area. So another great opportunity from a set piece here for Altitude.
Again, we're going to see the Harbourside goalie tested and to see where he sets up everybody, right? That's always a key play, and having those players in that wall.
So again, it'll be the four-man wall. Marasa, McKinty. Tinmouth, I believe, is in and around it. And then Magog as well. Wall is set. Ball 19 yards out. Chance here for Altitude. Delivers into the wall. It kicks back from 22, and they score! Illich never saw it. And Altitude square this up at one.
I not was there not a deflection or just a touch on that ball, because the ball seemed to change direction, and I think it angled a little bit up there. I think that had caught everybody by surprise.
So the goal will go to Anastas Aheo. It is his first of the season, and Altitude have tied this up at one. Now Harbourside still have some work to do. A team that has had some difficult times scoring, played with the lead for a good chunk of the game so far. Scoring in the 36th minute did Ambrose Tinmouth.
And that was from relatively close. They've been shooting from distance today, and that was probably only about 22, 23 yards out. So that's been the closest opportunity, and it seemed to convert very well for them.
You could tell by the reaction from Illich, he just never saw it. Had absolutely no clue that was coming right back to him. Maybe a deflection in there, but Aheo, the goal scorer.
Harbourside doesn't want to be caught on their back foot, so they want to definitely pick up the pace, and they want to get back into the final third and control that ball like they were doing so well earlier.
Haven't really had the lion's share of possession, have Harbourside in their second half. Credit Altitude coming out strong. Ball played in, headed away by Hall. Bouncing, still controlled by the visitors.
Altitude's midfield is definitely picking the ball up. If the forwards are sending the ball backwards, it's going to them, and they're looking to set up from that midfield position.
And a lot of control, and again, Harbourside's able to force it back to midfield, but it's comfortable control at this stage for Altitude.
Harbourside backline is definitely having to watch out for the strong run from Altitude right now. They're building that run, and it seems to be coming faster and faster and more frequent.
Altitude able to control just outside the penalty box. Dropping it off, still trying to gather there as a long shot, and this one will go all the way along the carpet and out of play for a goal kick.
I think Altitude's definitely found their dangerous distance, and that's about the 22-yard line that you'll find out there. And that seems to be where they want to set up those midfielders to take that hard through strike and keep it low.
Illich able to clear that one just to the right side. Harbourside will regather, recontrol. And working down that right side, here's Tinmouth trying to streak his way through, advancing it up and ahead, and a free kick will come. Just on the challenge, not far from the Harbourside bench.
Referee having a few words with some of the players out there, reminding them that this game is an important game, but you've got to be able to play a balanced game.
Sucre Bahari will fancy his chance here, not necessarily for a goal, I'd imagine, but certainly for a chance to deliver a pretty good cross in.
Goal from this distance really has to catch the keeper off. The keeper seems to be in a good position. He's on the 6, so it's not like he's out of position. You can catch him. So anything that's going to go in, probably going to land in his hands.
And it's quickly neutralized by the visitors as they're able to bring it out along this near side and played out through the middle. Poor the intended target, never found its way there as Harbourside able to latch onto it.
Having to scramble back and pick up the ball in possession quickly.
Titani. Back to Illich. Over to the far side, Marasa with some time. Now to McKinty. Up to midfield as Tinmouth just surrounded by sky blue jerseys. And he's able to come away with a free kick to boot.
Oh, one of the light blue jerseys there seems to be down for a moment there. I'm not sure if he got maybe a hand in the face or whatever, but need a moment to rest up there.
Chitani was in that battle. It was Ambrose Tinmouth to try and actually take the ball away from that crowd and look to kind of play the advantage on that free kick, but the referee blowing it back as a result, you'd imagine, of the injury to the player, to the Altitude player. Marasa will take the free kick down the right side. Latz is on Mowbray Bejean. Tinmouth hovering for it. Nice little dance and move. Bejean gives back to the midfield, and Magog will get it just inside the center circle.
Has to play it all the way back into his own third.
Ooh, and mobbing the ball, able to come away with that. His Altitude poor on the through ball. Has a chance, shoots, what a stop by Illich.
Quickly on his feet.
Sprawling.
Light blue looking for the advantage there, saying that they got the push.
Illich sprawling to his right, able to get a confident glove save on it, and that was a good one from number 1 in the red jersey for Harbourside this afternoon. Got aerial, got lateral as well.
That's that agility we were talking about earlier. Because you're not 6'4", you've got to be fast and agile, and this is certainly something that he comes up with.
Free kick coming here for Altitude.
You can feel the tension between both teams ramping up now as the score's tied now, and we're in the second half. Pressure is on. Who can get that next goal? And is that next goal enough to hold the other team off? That's the big question. Altitude have certainly had their opportunity in the beginning of this first half. They've been lightning quick, and they want to continue their goal scoring streak in the second half.
Looks like there was a booking there. I didn't quite catch who it was for. Free kick coming to Altitude, so I'm not entirely sure which Harbourside player on the receiving end of that yellow card. It's a quick little equipment check and adjustment. And that'll be Adrian Poor to head off just for some equipment repairs. So altitude down to 10 for the time being. Delivery from the left touchline. High into the zone. Illich out, challenged well, and he'll earn the free kick. Was aggressive in his save. He is not afraid, absolutely fearless as he collided hard with a altitude player down in the penalty box.
He certainly likes to make that forward movement. He's not one of those keepers that wants to stand there and make that last-minute dive to the left or the right. He's very active, very aggressive coming forward on all those plays. He knows that that's a dangerous set play from that position. And just like he had the opportunity earlier, he came up with the double strike. He came flying through the crowd there. And with that red on today, it certainly looks like a lightning bolt.
If I got my number read right, that is number 14, Athos Michelopis de Soquera. As he hops back up, seems okay. Or I'm just trying to see if that's a 24 or a 14. Regardless, up and okay. And the aggressiveness from Marko Illich defending his zone really can't be understated. Illich will play to the right side from Marasa.
Long ball.
Marasa looking to unleash a body along this left side, but nobody around it. And easily reeled in by the keeper. Not a whole ton of urgency from altitude.
No, certainly slowing the pace of the game right now.
If the scores stay the same after 90 minutes, Harbourside will finish in 7th, altitude in 8th. So, you know, definitely positioning to play for, even though it might not be playoff positioning. There is enough to play for both teams. Magog. Back to Marasa. Harbourside just looking to try and control along that far side. They'll get a free kick. Good crowd here on a Saturday afternoon. It is a major events weekend in Nanaimo with the bathtub race on the waterfront. Typically draws a few thousand down there. Went earlier today, so maybe some of those people making their way up here. And of course, everything in memory and in honor of Reed Davidson, who passed away midweek. In utterly tragic circumstances, a free kick coming here as two players go in for a challenge just as the referee's whistle went on the free kick initially.
Harbourside in the second half seems to stick with their original game plan, which is develop the set piece. They want to have that set play. They want to have that through ball. They're not being careless with the ball. And just as we saw in the first half, Altitude has got that high press. They want that rush, that speed, and that run. And it's worked well for them in the second half.
Altitude threatening just on the edge of the 18-yard box, is trying to work with there. Is poor. Comes back on this near side. Long drive. Crumbs fall nicely. This is for Adzik, trying to play down this near side. He'll chase after it himself. Adzik looking to dance his way through. Got challenged by McKenzie, pardon me. Both players throwing their arms up, one in self-defense, one in innocence, pleading for a call, and it will be a free kick just on the edge of the area. Coming over to take it, Oliver Herbert, a couple of yards out from the box. About 4 yards from the byline.
And again, another set piece could be set up from here. So again, two-man wall like we've seen earlier, but lots of movement in the box.
Crossed low, it's headed out by Harbourside. Not out of danger though, is Altitude able to regather. Back up top, that's for Illos, a long drive, but it's blocked and kicks back out to midfield. Ball falls nicely along that left wing for Altitude. Looking to try and center. They do. Here's a chance from a long way out. That's Walters. Couldn't connect on it. Ball still loose. Illich aggressive to it. and able to grab a hold of it and throw it quickly.
Looking for the fast transition. Harbourside's putting players downfield as quick as they can. They're looking to spring free. Ooh, quick transition.
Ran into midfield, however, as Ambrose Tinmouth looking to go for a run, but ran into the blue wall. Marasa will chip that down the right side. Looking, advancing. Here's a chance for Mowbray Bégin, but it comes from an offside position.
Harbourside seems to be quickening their pace, and they look to be trying for that second goal.
Altitude still controlling. They've had, you would comfortably say, probably 60% of the possession in this second half.
I would say so. They've shown confidence on the ball. They've been able to move it out of the back with a lot of confidence and ball control. Right? They're moving it around. Now we're into our 4th, 5th, 6th pass from these guys in the back. That just shows confidence and control.
Long clearance put through the middle, but Fergus Hall has the boot there. Now Reese Ferriger over to the far side, Jordan McKinty. Faked one, delivery down the touchline, carries into the middle, but then loses possession, and here comes Altitude, tracking through the center, along that far side, trying to latch onto it, but Illich is there, out, and it's going to be a penalty. Illich pleading, saying he was going for the ball, but the referee saying that he impeded the traffic of the attacker, Matt Marasa, trying to plead the case. But it will be a penalty here for Altitude.
Looks like they're waving over for the trainer and medical staff, possibly.
Illich wants the VAR. Unfortunately, that is not here, and it was the challenge on Kyle Hansen. And the ball will be 12 yards from goal. Marko Illich going over, trying to ask what happened, saying, I was going for the ball, I went for the ball, and I got the ball.
Just checked in and had a look at the Harbourside bench there. Kevin Lindo definitely trying to figure out what happened there from his perspective.
Illich still not liking the call for, obvious reasons. We'll go back to his goal line. So coming in to take this, here we go. A chance for Altitude with the lead, and he makes no mistake. Altitude's Caleb Valance scoring, and the visitors lead 2-1.
You could see the impact that second goal had on the Harbourside team. They've really felt that one there. Players didn't think that that penalty should have been awarded, and obviously we saw the goaltender contest it as best that he could. But unfortunately, the tide has turned.
Altitude need to just kind of try and find a way to get out of this funk here at the moment, because it's not going the way that they want at the moment.
It certainly seems that way. Harbourside's going to have to dig deep. We've got plenty of time in the second half here for them to build a comeback. They've had some excellent opportunities before. I think they can create them again. The players there know that they need this extra point.
So if the scores end the way they do, Harbourside would finish 8th, and Altitude would jump them into 7th. Harbourside have a 1-point advantage in the standings heading into action today. So it all starts again for Harbourside.
Altitude is quick to the ball, and they've got hands all over the Harbourside players.
Harbourside will get the throw at midfield. Suko Bahari and Mowbray Bégin battling.
Altitude will be looking to make another goal happen for them in this half in order to be able to put the game away for themselves.
Bégin. Ferriger in midfield. Over to the far side, McKinty. Looking for a run, that's Tinmouth. Trying to chip it ahead, got his own pass back, plays it through traffic, and unable to do much with that.
Oh.
And Hall, aggressive on a little bit of a push, gives up a free kick. And a card as well to boot. Just noticed Vasilis Spagiopoulos on the pitch. He was the substitute to start today, so here it is.
In the game, number 3, Juan Rubiano.
Juan Rubiano is in the game as well. Spagiopoulos must have come on at half. I didn't spot him at the time. Regardless, Harbourside beginning to shift up their formation just a bit, so it looks like Mowbray Bejen has moved back from his role. He started as the lone striker, and then he's now looking on more on a left wing back role, so McKenzie may be off as well. Harbourside just looking to try and find something, and that's, as we said earlier, just the versatility of a guy like Bejen to be able to play just about anywhere. His altitude just outside the box, a drive to net. It's cleared away off the head of McGog. And kick back out. Aheo trying to chip that in, and it comes out to midfield, and a header away, but a body check towards Suka Bahari will bring a free kick. Be an actual indirect free kick, so I think that'll be, regardless, it's taken by altitude. Delivered to the area, but Illich out and able to grab easily.
Great lead ball from the keeper on that last play. Here's an opportunity. Oh.
And Bagiopoulos giving up a free kick, trying to turn and run off that challenge as he was shoulder to shoulder with Nathan Waters. I mean, still lots of time. 20 minutes plus stoppage remaining. And obviously for, as we said, obvious reasons, altitude in no rush. They lead 2-1. Goals from Aheo earlier in this half, and then from the penalty spot, giving the visitors the lead and potentially 20 minutes away from their second win of the season.
Altitude have controlled the ball really well in the back, getting 4 or 5 passes unchallenged and being able to move the ball around and kill some very important time.
It'd be interesting to see how much we've talked about the press throughout the game today. How Altitude have been much more aggressive in that. I'll finish that thought in a second. Is chipping, trying to get over the top of Illich, but Illich equal to it. Grabbing onto that one. We've talked a lot about today about the press and how Altitude have been much more aggressive in forcing the Harbourside defense than Harbourside have been to the Altitude defense, but interesting to see how long that strategy continues and how much Harbourside can continue to be a little more passive than their opponents in that regard as they continue to try and chase a goal. Suka Bahari. Left side feed, Bejen looking to cross, comes off a Altitude leg and out of play. It'll go out for a throw. Bejen will take it quickly to Bahari. Suka Bahari challenged. Has to track all the way back. He'll get the free kick.
I think there was a bit of a shirt grab there.
Bernardo Illos didn't like it. Bahari was offered the advantage, didn't really take too much, so the free kick given. He'll take it over to the middle now, Ferrier.
Not sure everybody was ready for him to kick the ball so quickly there. It seemed to catch both teams offside.
Off guard. Gave it away along that left side as trying to work his way in is Chavula. Delivers it with some time and space, working into the attacking zone, the penalty area. A tackle there as Altitude want another penalty, but it is reeled in by Illich. Referee's arm stays down, whistle in the pocket. It's Bahari. Working down the left side, Bahari lets Tinmouth overrun him. Bagiopoulos got it back, but just out of his reach on a second effort. Aheo had a chance. It's played up and ahead. Now working with some speed through middle. Here's Kyle Hansen trying to find his way to center. Driving to net and put it over the goal.
We've got a Harbourside player down there, and that last play that came out from the back there, he seemed to pull up and grab his hamstrings, and now he's sitting down. Gonna need to stretch that one out. It looked rather painful. He came up to make the play against the player, and you could just see the look on his face, a little bit of a wince there when he had to take that extra step. So that's going to play into his game today.
Ball kicked out along this near side. And a giveaway here off the boot of Mowbray as it's taken by Altitude. Working through some traffic. Here's Illos. Drops back to Herbert. Now for Illos once more.
Having a look at the time on the clock, we're not wondering if Kevin Lindo will make any more adjustments to the lineup and try to create some more spark from some of the players that are sitting available today.
Still got a few options there. Nathan Chow saw some action off the sub bench last weekend. As we've been saying, weather not nearly as much of a factor. Delivered to the box by Illos. Headed away by Tinmouth. Not a whole lot of distance on the clear. Then the back heel, keeping the play alive for altitude. Just inside the box, centering feed. Herbert trying to direct it towards the goal, into traffic. Still loose ball, sliding tackle, deflected away off the boot eventually of Magog. Took a spin and into touch for a corner. Haven't had too many corners today. I think maybe four or five, both sides. Like total, I mean.
I think so. It's been one of those days where the teams have been driving towards the net, less crossing. They maybe have a little bit of a wind on the pitch, and they don't want to put the ball up in the air needlessly.
Flags at midfield, all of them kind of tell a bit of a different story, but most of them sort of suggesting the wind's sort of coming cross-pitch, generally from left to right on screen.
Ooh, short corner.
Delivered to the box, headed down, and it's taken by Illich.
Wasting
on
no
the chance
time.
from Fremont and able to quickly clear downfield. 1-on-3 though. Harbourside able to come away with it. His Bagiopoulos feed and offside.
That was a great play being set up, and all again came from the keeper, Illich, bringing the ball out. He's got such a devastating drop kick that he gets sideways on that ball, and it makes it past half every time. He's got the reaction time. The team is always ready to quick react underneath his ball.
So a substitution here for altitude. Coming off is Costa Adzik, and coming on will be Giuliano Campadelli.
No surprise there with him holding that hamstring for the last maybe 2 minutes. It looked like a really good tear or something that bind up in his quad or hamstring. It looks like to be the hamstring behind the knee there.
And then sorry, go ahead.
He was really favoring it earlier.
And then Reese Farragher comes off. Maxwell Dadsey comes on in the 17 jersey. So substitution, one each way. Lead feed down that left side, corralled in eventually by Harbourside, and here's Dadsey's first touch of the ball this afternoon. Chipping it up and ahead, intended for Bagiopoulos. Eventually latches onto that one. Lets Dadsey go by. Into the middle now, Tinmouth. Has Rubiano in support. Uses him now.
You could certainly see in that first play that Dadsey's got those fresh legs and he's already putting them to good use.
Suko Bahari trying to find his way through some traffic. It gets knocked loose and put out of play for a throw. Bahari gives short to Bejen. Back to Shatani. Suko Bahari trying to find his way through, and now Shatani will cross over. Working up along that far side, Fergus Hall.
Oh, just short.
Pass up and ahead intended for Dadsey there from McKinty. Didn't quite connect. The long lead feed played out to middle. And all the way back inside Harbourside's half. Magog.
Time and space right now.
Is Bejan on that left wing back roll. Didn't get the favorable spin off the ball, did Magog, but was still able to get it up and ahead for Tinmouth. Has the lone Harbourside goal as Ambrose Tinmouth came in the 36th minute. Gave the home team a 1-0 lead. Chitani looking to try and reel a ball in. Did well to fight off a challenge of one, trying another, couldn't quite do that. He stripped a possession, and it kicks back out to the altitude defense.
Altitude's moving more and more players up the field now. You can see them there. 3 players are trying to go for that created run, and you can see that they're building a lot of pressure there.
Still time. 2-1 the score. 12 minutes plus stoppage time remaining in this second half. Long feed intended for Bagiopoulos, never found its mark. Booth goes back to Walters. A little bit of time and space. Campidelli streaking down this right side, little give and go, and he gets it. Giuliano Campidelli working his way in, right side of the zone, looks to cross to the middle, and Illich, situational awareness. The ball deflected off the boots of Mowbray Bejian and hustled over, prevented it from going out for what would have been a corner.
We certainly didn't want to give that rebound away there with all the defenders being spaced out, and it looked as if Altitude was going to be able to create something out of that if there was a rebound.
Tinmouth streaking through middle, gets tripped up. Free kick right at halfway. And then just a little bit of a stoppage here is Anastasia Heo. Immediately sort of hitting the deck and maybe some cramping or some tightness in his leg. This will be another substitution coming here, a double one as Sanko Konates comes on off, I should say, in favor of Peter Alexandrakis. Or not, pardon me, Konates, that's Chavula, excuse me.
So that player did actually ask for a substitution there. You saw the hand signal to the trainer, so he looks like whatever he's got going on there, it's not going to work out for him.
So a second substitution coming on.
Watching the time tick away now, we're heading into the 80th minute. And as this time is valuable right now for the Harbourside team, not to lose it, but to win it back and create something in the second half.
So it's Ilos off and David Rodriguez Zegara on. And after all that, it is still the free kick just inside half for Harbourside. There is still one more awaiting there. So that is the substitution. That is Ilos off, Rodriguez Zegara on. And then coming off was Aheo. That one will have to wait, though.
That did take some time off the clock for sure.
Here's Suku Bahari down the left side. Now for Mowbray, looks to cross, delivers, and just puts it on top of the netting. So Altitude, who played that passage with just 10 men, now get back to a full strength as it'll be Sarub to come on. Was initially listed as a starter, but a late move to the substitute bench, pardon me. So Sarub comes on for the injured Anastasia Hale.
Well, again, we'll look to see what those fresh legs can bring to the team and how quickly they involve themselves in the play.
This will be a long clearance here from Evan Ince. In net for Altitude, hasn't seen a ton of game action this year, but playing what will be the final one for both teams, as neither will make playoffs this season. But still battling to avoid finishing in that 8th spot. Campidelli.
There's that high press. And again, Altitude is looking to just disrupt anything that Harbourside can build out of the back.
And when you lead 2-1 with, what, 8 minutes remaining?
No reason why not.
You can afford to.
That's right. You want to disrupt the team as much as you can and create as much chaos as you can, because if you can control it while you're doing this, then you're winning the game.
Great battle there with Oliver Herbert. Did well, beat the same Harbourside player a couple of times in some traffic, but wasn't able to take real advantage of it was the team. It's Chitani. Over to that far side. Dadsy trying to fight his way through. He gets stripped of it, and Altitude come back along this near wall. Free kick given up.
Seems to be a lot in the second half here where players are picking up those injuries, and we thought today would be injury-free because of the heat is not a factor today, but it just seems to be end of the season possibly, and those players are feeling their time on the field.
Rodriguez Zegara, this time taking a couple of extra seconds to find his feet once more. And again, Altitude just, as we said, in no rush. 83rd minute coming to an end. As that's played pitch wide, but it's taken by Harbourside. One kick still in it, 2-1. Altitude lead. Rubiano ahead. as Tinmouth tried to drag that one down, couldn't quite get it, and it's put out of play for a
Harbourside
throw.
will be looking for the ball as quick as possible.
The urgency coming for the home team right now, wanting to end this season on an emotional day, on a winning note. Good crowd here at Kikinishtuk Stadium in Nanaimo. Those unfamiliar, I think Kikinishtuk, certainly one of the more unusual stadium names in League One, was renamed just under 2 years ago. Was initially NDSS Field, which is the secondary school immediately behind it here. Kikinishtuk, a word from Korsalish Stanamuk First Nation, who are the traditional First Nation in this region. Kikinishtuk meaning to pass it back, to give back. And you would hear a lot of Stanamuk athletes using that word, particularly sort of when playing sports. So to give the ball back, to pass it back, Kikinishtuk. So the field renamed that back in, I think it was late 2021, that was kind of officially came out.
Harbourside looking to build out of the back with speed. They're trying to move the ball quickly up the pitch, but it seems to be a mid-block right now that is proving to be challenging to get through, because Altitude has been able to control that middle of the field, and they're doing really well. Ball possession is still more, in the favor of Altitude today.
Illich shipping one that into the penalty area, but Illich quickly out for it, and again wasting no time. Tinmouth leaves the ball and nobody runs onto it, so Altitude take it straight back. Here's Oliver Herbert. Plays over to the near side, looking to center. Couldn't quite get connection on that one. And it's kicked back out. Again, controlling his Lucas Booth. Chips it over the left wing, trying to latch onto that one. Rodriguez Zaguera couldn't keep it in play, and it's out for a throw. And again, some quick action from Harbourside trying to get the ball back in play. This will be another substitution coming. Jordan McKinty's day is done. Nathan Chow will take his place, and Suka Bahari's day is also done. Taylor Arbour will replace him.
Harbourside substitutions. Into the game number 5, Nathan Chow, and number 20.
So we'll see how that shuffles up the formation, or at least the assignments.
Well, you got to think with the remaining time on the clock here, those players that are making that transition in, they've got to give 90 minutes of game time in this few minutes that they've got out here. So they've got to come out fresh and be effective immediately into the play.
So Chow on that back three by the looks of things, with Magog and Hall. Bejan, and then I'm not entirely sure who's got that right wing back role at the moment. Perhaps that is Chow, but regardless, Harbourside just need to throw everything they can.
Harbourside trying to make the quick move, but you can see Altitude is standing nice and close to slow the pace down again.
Magog feeds it down the left side as that came off the body, I believe, of Taylor Arbour and out of play. So Arbour, Bagiopoulos, and Tinmouth, I believe, are the three, although Tinmouth may have slotted back into more of a central midfield role.
Great throw from Altitude.
Working down the left side is Billy Bagiopoulos, trying to feed through for Arbour. So Arbour looks to have kind of taken that lead striker role, and then supported by Bagiopoulos, and then one on the right. Rubiano and Shatani in the midfield, and then Arbour joining Bagiopoulos up front. Ball corralled in. Arbour trying to turn and chip. He does well for Dadzi down the right side, just mishandled it and puts it into touch.
Danzy's got some great speed. I've seen him play before, and I tell you, this is an up-and-coming player that I think when he unleashes that speed, I think he's truly going to be one of those players that is a key substitute player that can come on, make a difference early. He just needs the ball to land at the right spot at his feet.
No rush here as Nathan Chow will come in to take the throw in. Dadzi in traffic. Pass played back. Hall to Mowbray Bejan. Bagiopoulos look to return it back. Bejan has literally been all over the pitch today. Started as the striker, now playing a wing back role. Moving up into midfield every once in a while to boot as well.
Altitude using a lot of their players right now. They've probably had about 6 different players touch that ball in the last 30 seconds.
Fed over to that far side in the area. A shot put just over the goal. Still time to operate. A few minutes remaining in regulation plus stoppage. Harbourside, though, haven't had the certainly the quality of chances in their second half that they were able to generate in the first. We'll see if that can change now. Here's Bagiopoulos, tracked down by a faster player along that near side, and it's taken away by the visitors and put out into touch for a throw.
Harbourside keeps looking at the clock, and you can tell that the players know that time's running out and they've got to pick it up. That last play of theirs was one of their quickest in the second half, but it was just not enough to get past the Altitude defense.
I love Oliver Herbert was looking around for the ball that went out of play, which was, a couple of dozen yards away, and Harbourside players screaming at him that there was a ball right next to him with one of the ball boys. He was in no rush and then grabs it from the ball boy and just immediately drops it for somebody else to come and take.
And again, time is being wasted, and that could be a key factor in the last few minutes of these games.
The ball stays in play, quote unquote. Rodriguez Zaguera. Altitude have certainly been the better team in the second half. They've controlled the bulk of the play. They've had the possession. They've had the territory as well. That's out for a goal kick.
Altitude to look to keep the pressure up, but not let them into the final third. They'll try and hold them at midfield, and they've been doing an excellent job of that all day long.
Bejen. Magog. Chitani. Back to Bejen. Down this left side, he'll go for a run with it. Looks to center. That was intended for Bagiopoulos, trying to get control of it, but it's taken by Altitude. And they'll work up through the middle. Hull. Just a little bit of a misplay, but Illich able to diffuse anything there. 4 minutes added on in this second half. That's how much we've got left in this inaugural season for Harbourside's men's team. As stripped of the ball there was Nathan Chow, and here comes Altitude. Working down the left side, is there one more in it? As Hall tracking back, sliding, and knocking the ball away. It'll go just to the touchline. Not out for a throw, and eventually towed out for a throw in by Chow.
You wonder what Harbourside's going to have to pull out of their hat right now to bring the ball down the field and be successful in getting that next one. Altitude looked to sit back and maybe hold the possession and just wind down the clock.
Sarub out for a Sunday stroll, gathering that ball along the fence. Put straight to the corner and allow the seconds to just tick away. Free kick will come here. It'll go to Harbourside. Pardon me, I thought it was going to be a free kick. It'll be a throw for Chow.
Altitude still bouncing on their feet. Lots of energy, and they still want to maintain possession deep in there.
Deflected off an Altitude boot and put out a play. Ball quickly sent back for Chow to throw it in. Cleared out to midfield.
Harbourside's going to need the bounce in their favor, and it just seems to be on the outside of their favor.
Rubiano, the intended target there, comes back along this near side. Here's a chance. Looking to try and connect. It is what we thought was Kyle Hansen wearing the 9 jersey. It'll be a free kick. Bejen not liking the call, the assistant referee along this near side. And Bejen will get a yellow card. Arguing with the assistant referee on the call, maybe suggesting there was a bit of a dive from the Altitude player, and all this continues to just tick time down.
Well, if you're Harbourside, this is certainly going against you, and if you're Altitude, you're certainly winning on this opportunity.
Short free kick will come, and we'll just
Altitude
take some time off here. Pardon me, Sarub on it.
Altitude's keeper's way out of the net. He's playing like your last defenseman back there. He's probably about 30 yards out.
Again, Altitude just the false start. Every second counts.
Yeah.
And they'll play to the corner, and Sarub will look to try and get a corner kick, but it didn't get the favorable bounce, and Harbourside looked to try and take it away, but it's all Altitude at the moment. just maintaining possession, not trying to advance the ball, and they concede, or they get, I should say Altitude, get a free kick just outside the area, and this will, again, kill a little bit more time. You can expect a lengthy conference on who's going to take this. Referee has blown the whistle, not really pushing the wall back any further.
If you look at midfield right now, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 5 Altitude holding possession back there. They do not want to let any opportunity slip through from the Harbourside team right now.
Every stoppage is like in slow motion right now for Sarub and Altitude.
And a conversation.
Ball played in, and another free kick will come. This will be a yellow card. And again, Harbourside complaining about a potential embellishment, this time Chitani on the receiving end of the referee's yellow card.
Thought that player maybe jumped a little extra high.
I was going to say it looked a little bit of a stumble forward, we'll call it. Chance here, Altitude. They will just play to the corner, and that is it. The inaugural season for Harbourside's men's team is over. It ends on a losing note as they fall by a 2-1 score to Altitude. And a rough second half after really a fantastic opening 45 minutes where Harbourside were able to generate so much offensively. There just wasn't much that they were able to get going in that second 45.
A lot of their opportunities came from actually when the keeper was in possession there. So when Illich would quickly move the ball down the field, he was certainly trying to spark his team. He was certainly trying to help drive that ball down there, kicking the ball well past half. But the Altitude back line today, I say they were an absolute blue wall. They showed really good patience, ball control, and possession was certainly there when they wanted it. So they definitely picked apart any ball in their zone all day long.
We will step away here and we'll end our live broadcast on the League One BC YouTube channel. We'll switch over to the women's feed in a moment. They will get set to kick off at 3:30 here from Kikinishtuk in the second leg of our doubleheader here this afternoon. Ambrose Tinmouth, the goal scorer, and it is a 2-1 Altitude win over Harbourside FC here in Nanaimo. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll join you in a few minutes' time as the women get set to kick off at 3:30.
Big thank you to all of our sponsors, all of our fans, all of our supporters here for the inaugural League One BC season for Harbourside men's soccer. Women's soccer coming up next in about